Hello, everybody. My name is Ms Dorsila Ogola. Welcome to the Afterthought. I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday wherever you are listening us from. Maybe it's the confines of your home, or you're on your way back home, or wherever you are. I hope it's been a lovely, lovely day so far. It's been a lovely day for me. I'm usually, as always, excited to be here to bring you good vibes, good conversation with focused on your mental health. So, of course, you can catch up this conversation with us also on YouTube, Icon Radio KE, and you can also like our social media pages so that you can get and the vibe in the know of what's going on. Number one in this country, number two, what's going on, what's popping with our different shows, and you can follow us on Icon Radio KE on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, um, and YouTube. All right. So this week's show, we want to talk about something that honestly I've been avoiding talking about because I don't know. I feel like it's a bit different for me, like lessons to my younger self. Yeah. And just how what I would say to my younger self um today, from where I'm seated, from the lens that I have today. Because of course, when you were 10 years old, there's a way you viewed the world that is definitely very different from how you probably view the world today. Maybe you're in your early 20s, late 20s, or early 30s, late 30s, early 40s, the drill. Yeah. And of course, with experience comes what? Lessons. Yeah, and of course I love the woman that I'm becoming. I love the lessons that I get to take, and I love how I am able to look at myself and treat myself and talk to myself. So for a lot of people, they look at this growing older probably in a negative way, but when you grow older, when you know better, you kind of do what you kind of do better. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about things we need to tell ourselves, that 10-year-old girl, that 3-year-old girl, that 2-year-old girl, um that 7-year-old girl, as far back as you can actually remember yourself growing up, the things that you would tell yourself today from all the lessons you've gathered, all the experience that you've gotten, because that 3-year-old girl still exists in you. She is still right there, deep within you, and she shows up in your conversations, in your relationships, in the jobs that you pick, in the men or women that you pick to be in relationship with, in your friendships, how you relate with your parents. Like that girl, that small girl, small boy really does come out. And in order for us to be in a healthier space with ourselves, then we have to be able to look at that girl and speak to her in a way that is kind, in a way that reminds her that there is room and space for you, especially because we have um, different kinds of upbringing. Number one, we have different kinds of lives, and just different experiences, both positive and negative. Some things we carried that were not ours into our adulthood, some beliefs we carried into our adulthood, and these things play out in just our decisions and the choices that we make. So I feel like this is such an important conversation because we need to change our relationship with ourselves, and redefine our relationship with ourselves. Because honestly, the quality of friendships, the quality of families, the quality of lives that, the quality of careers that we get to have is highly dependent on the quality of relationship that we have with ourselves. That relationship with ourselves really is where it's at, you know? You might think something else is coming to make your life exciting, something else is coming to like make your life seem bigger than it is, but really it really is just your relationship with yourself, how you speak to yourself, you know the amount of grace and patience that you give yourself, you know um the amount of restructuring in terms of the conversations you've had growing up, the things that were said to you and how you restructured those conversations and how you rephrase them today. Those are the things that create the life that you would like to live, the quality of life that you would like to live. And I was looking at, I was watching something online and it was talking about our heart quality. The quality of our hearts is the quality of our life. So if your heart and you're vibrating lower, when you talk about vibrating lower, you're vibrating in those low frequency and low energies of I am not good enough, I am not beautiful enough, I am not, like I am not, you know. And then you want to see enough in your day-to-day life. You want to be honored, you want to be seen, you want to be loved, but the vibrations within you are very low vibrations. But when you're vibrating higher, then you're able to attract things, beautiful things, these things that you want in your life, that everybody wants, I believe, in their lives. So today, basically, we're just going to be restructuring, and reparenting. I use the word reparenting because now we are adults and we see our parents as human beings. We don't see them as mommy and dad. No, we see them as, if your mother is called which name, Antonia, now you see her as not mom, you see her as Antonia, because Antonia is a whole grown woman. She can make her own decisions. She did the best that she could with the tools that she had. So you can't go run to Antonia now as a baby. You can run to her as a grown woman who understands that she was a grown woman as well, and she was doing the best that she needed to do with the tools that she was given. So for us, even just restructuring how we view our parents, how we view the work that they did with the tools that they got. Of course, they could have done better. Of course, like no one comes from a perfect home or a perfect family, or they haven't experienced some form of trauma or some form of, disappointment in terms of how they were raised, But from where we are seated right now, we are adults. We can go back to ourselves and we can, put our hands on our chest and rub our heart area and tell ourselves, you know what? The things that you didn't get, you have the opportunity to give them to yourself today. You have the opportunity to actually love yourself. You have the opportunity to reparent yourself. You have the opportunity to remind yourself some of the things that we're going to be reminding ourselves today. So I'd definitely love to hear from our listeners today, what their thoughts are on this topic, especially what they would tell their younger self, that 10-year-old, that 7-year-old, that 9-year-old girl or boy playing in the streets. If you had the type of childhood I had, because my childhood was very exciting. Yeah. I came from a very big family where like about 10 of us or more, like in a household, and we are all kids and we're trying to navigate, growing up, sharing. I don't think we did not like just the typical crazy, big family type of situation, and trying to be hard, there was competition. So there were a lot of emotions in that house. There were a lot of things going on. Of course, we didn't all get the attention we wanted to get, because of course this is African family trying to provide. We're all trying to go to school, all these things that are happening, and therefore of course there is some self-work that needs to be done for myself. Yeah, and I do believe each and every single one of us needs to do a lot of this self-work. Yeah, and it's gonna be a bit awkward or weird, but it's necessary, because a lot of these things that we're going to be telling ourselves today are things that we probably needed to hear while growing up and normalize. So right now, imagine telling it to yourself if you've never heard it before. So it's probably going to sound and feel uncomfortable, but you know what? You're in the right space. You're in the right conversation. You're with the right person, because you know what? We allow room and space for all those emotions and everything that you're feeling. And we're going to just validate ourselves today. This episode is about validation. Validating everything that you are, validating everything that you needed growing up, validating that it was needed, like validating that was needed. So before we step into that, or before we get into that, I'll be able to talk about what I would tell my 10-year-old self, in different spaces in my career, in my relationships, and things that you can tell your 10-year-old self in different spaces of your life, in how you interact with your own self and then with the rest of everybody around you, with your career and all of it. In the meantime, enjoy great music. Yeah, and I hope this music actually just inspires you and encourages you to, you know what, be the best human or your best self today. Welcome back, everybody. So, we are just about to get right into it. We want to talk about things that we would tell our younger selves. It's important, it's an important conversation, and it's good to always like validate this younger person, to validate him or her because they show up. Yeah, and last week we were here with Paps. Unfortunately, he's not able to join us today, and we'll be able to just link up next week and probably touch on this conversation a bit. But we were able to talk about just how much of our childhood shows up in our relationships, how we interacted with people growing up is how we tend to interact with people once we're grown. How we show up in our friendships is how we showed up in our friendships years ago, how we showed up in our homes and watching, excuse me, how our parents interacted is how we show up in our intimate relationships with other people. And sometimes you feel like, so where do I begin the work? Where do I begin the self work? Especially if how you're showing up is not a healthy, secure place, So the work kind of begins where we are here today. Like it begins here, validating and talking to our younger selves. And one of the things I would tell my younger self in whatever sphere that I'm in, may it be in a relationship, may it be in an office, may it be in my friendships, may it be in a room whereby I'm sharing my ideas with people or I'm pitching something, I would really just say to this young baby girl growing up in class four, with vumbi kwa miguu, just being a child, I would say, you know what, you're good enough. You're just the right amount of enough. The right amount of it. You're good enough. You are worth everything that you put your mind to, that you dream of. You're good enough. You're good enough in your family, in that space. You're good enough in class, because even in our system of education, there's a lot of this competitiveness going on whereby you're always reaching to beat the person in front of you. If you're number two, you're trying to beat number one, but you're not trying to be better than you were last time. You're just trying to beat the person in front of you, and inherently that just tells you, oh, you're not good enough. And you have to be number one like that person to get the perks that they're getting, to get the love and attention that they're getting, So imagine if you've grown up in an atmosphere whereby you're not getting, you're always striving, you're always striving to be like the person that is getting whatever you think you actually want to get. For example, this person who is in front of you, either they're better than you in music, better than you in class, better than you in looks, better than you in height, better than you in whatever way, and you're always striving to be like them so that you can access the love that they're getting, the adoration that they're getting. And inherently you're telling yourself, I am not enough, I am not good enough, because I'm not as tall, because I am not as light skinned, because I am not as skinny or big enough or whatever. Like, you basically have told yourself growing up the entire time that you are not good enough. Or maybe you come from a family whereby, you're not the kid that gets everything. You're the loud kid, or you're the quiet kid. Whichever differences that were there, and you felt like maybe me being louder would give me the love and the feeling of enough, from, or get that validation from your parent, which indeed you needed the validation. And that's why we're here today, to remind that 10-year-old, to remind that 9-year-old that, you know what, you are enough. You are good enough, just by you being you. If nothing was added to who you are, you were just good enough. And you deserve all the love, because we definitely need that validation. We need to, and that's why we exist in families and in homes, because in these families and these homes, these things are just cemented more into our hearts and into who we are, such that when we show up in the world, we're more confident in who we are. We're not trying to ask for, to beg for love from everyone. No, we need love, yes, but when it gets to that begging, then you know what, you're going to go against your own boundaries, go against your own principles that you've set, which now brings in the aspect of self betrayal. You get? You're betraying yourself to access love. You're betraying who you are to access being considered enough. You're betraying who you are, so that you can access this validation from this world. But what if we told that 10-year-old girl or boy growing up, that you do not have to betray yourself to access the feeling or the truth that you're good enough? That because it's a truth, you inherently have it, you know? And anyone who tells you differently is honestly not your friend, you know? Or anyone who's making you feel like you have to work and work and work for their validation or for you to feel like you're enough, then honestly, they're just annoying and they're mean. And you don't need to do it, to be honest, in all honesty. And you having been like a grown up right now, if you're in a space whereby you feel like you have to prove yourself that you're enough, to go against yourself, self betray so that you can prove that you're enough to anyone, that is not a space that you definitely want to be. That is not a space that is healing. That is not a space that allows you to be. That is not a space whereby you need to be, especially if you're trying to take care of yourself and your mental space. So, understanding that you're good enough, even in these office spaces that we're getting into, especially as women, I'd highlighted there, you know, like you're already good enough. You're already good enough. All you need to do is trust yourself. Because the thing about feeling like you're not good enough, then even self trust you don't have. So if you don't trust yourself, then you're not able to deliver. You're not able to deliver what you need to deliver in that boardroom. But imagine if you walked in there knowing that, what, come what may, with my quirkiness, with my quirky laugh, with who I am, come what may, I'm already good enough. I can just show up and do the job. That's it. It is what it is. It is what it is. The other thing that I would say, to this 10-year-old babe growing up, niko tu huko kwa mchanga nacheza, yeah, and just living my life, yeah. I would say speak up more for yourself, you know. Those things you want to ask but are shy or feeling like, what would people think if I actually spoke up? Then I would tell her, you know what, it's okay. It doesn't matter what people think. What's the worst that could happen? What really, actually, that's a rule I really live by. Like, what's the worst that could happen if I spoke up for myself? What's the worst that could happen would be someone saying no to me. It would be someone telling me ghosting, which essentially is just no. It would be, what's the worst that could happen if I spoke up more for myself? And this is the thing, a lot of us, we've grown up, especially when we were younger, just being silent and quiet and timid. And sometimes we just wanted to be agreeable. And last week I think I said, be difficult to love. Be a bit hard to love. Don't make it easy for people. Use your voice and speak up. Let no people come to you and be like, oh, you're so easy to like get along or to love or whatever. And yes, you can be easy to love. I don't disagree with that bit, but ask yourself, are you easy to love because you're going against your own boundaries and your own, you don't speak up for yourself. You know very well, for example, let me give a good example. Valentine's passed the other day. And you know very well you're the type of babe who likes flowers, who like, things like that. And then this guy just ignored, and they were like, I'm not getting you nothing. And whatever. And now you're like, oh, then they come back to you in the evening and they're like, oh, I don't know, whatever reason they give you for not making it special. And then you're like, oh, it's okay, it's the thought that counts. So you've self-betrayed. You know very well deep in your heart you wanted something, but you're not allowing yourself to just ask and say, what, this is actually something I wanted. Yeah. And for me, it's not about the asking, it's also about the how you ask. Yeah. But at the end of the day, ask. At the end of the day, if it doesn't sit well in your spirit, speak up for yourself. Speak up, speak up, speak up for yourself. I think for me, I came to learn this lesson way later in life. Yeah, especially when I started working. You would see other people just navigate their careers, and then you'd ask yourself, why am I still in the space that I'm at? It's because I was not speaking up for myself. I was not just saying this is what I think, especially with saying my ideas and all of that, because we were taught, especially for being a woman, be quiet. Yeah, don't be, don't show people that you're smart or you're whatever. You know what? If you're gonna be too much, be too much. For the people that feel like you're too much, you were never meant to be in their space. You were never meant to be for them. So you might as well just live your full life and just ask what you need to be asking. Say what you need to be saying. Advocate for yourself. I will never advocate for yourself in whatever space that you're in. Always advocate for yourself. Mm. I feel like that one has just touched my spirit. I don't know, like always advocate for yourself. Always use your voice and speak up. Yeah. The other thing I would tell my younger self is, do it scared. Yeah, whatever it is, like do it scared. It doesn't matter if your knees are like tetemekaing and you don't know what you're going to say or how you're going to do it, but whatever it is that you feel called to do and you feel like maybe it goes back to you're not good enough, or you feel like maybe you're not ready, or maybe you don't have the tools, or you don't have the background, or you don't have the money, do it scared. Do it scared. Do it scared. There's a lot that comes from that. Yeah. Doing it scared, because you realize once you do it and once your foot is inside the door, you have no option other than to put the other foot in front. Yeah. And the more you keep walking into it, the less fearful you get. Then you realize, oh my, it was actually not as scary. It was actually not as bad. So you're like, you know what? I'm able to do the next scary thing because I did the first scary thing. So you're able to do more scary things moving forward. And sometimes even the scary thing can be doing this work, speaking to your younger self, you know, acknowledging that, there are things that needs to be worked on and beginning that step. Do it scared. Do it scared. Excuse me. Do it scared all the time. It like all if it scares you, actually maybe there's a problem. If it doesn't scare you, then there's a problem. Maybe you're not dreaming big enough. Yeah, but it has to scare you. But the fear is not there so that it discourages you. The fear is actually there so that it can let you know in your spirit and deep down in your heart that this is important, and that is something important. It's something that um means something to you. It's not meant to stop you from actually pursuing what you need to be pursuing. I don't know if this is resonating with you, but I hope it is. The fact that you're good enough, if you want something, just ask for it. Use your voice and advocate for yourself all the damn time. Always advocate for yourself. And then the third one, this thing, like all these tips would actually apply in all the areas of your life, like in your career, in your relationships, even in relationships. Do it scared, hard conversations. Like you'd rather have your voice trembling, but you're saying your truth. You're using your voice. Let your voice tremble. Let's even acknowledge it when you're speaking. Like, this is very hard for me to speak on. This is very hard for me to say. This is very hard for me to admit to, but I need to do it. I need to do it and do it scared. And that's the thing. Today you will have those hard conversations. It's gonna be hard. Tomorrow you're gonna realize that, you know what, these hard conversations are healing conversations. These hard conversations are growing conversations. They contribute to your growth as a human being and as a person. Today in our society we're living in a space whereby people are not saying what they mean. They would rather just act it out, rather act out, and be reactionary and not go within and actually think about, what do I need to say and how do I say it in a way that advocates for me and honors the person and honors the relationship that you're having with that person. So it can be your mother-daughter relationship, father son relationship, can be an intimate relationship. So how do you need to have these conversations so that you're able to advocate for yourself, um live in your truth, and still honor the person that you're talking to. All of this speaks of understand that you're good enough no matter how the conversation goes, advocating for yourself, saying what you need to say, and doing something scary. Fear is not the enemy here. Fear is not the enemy. Fear could be the motivation. Yeah, so I think those three things really do apply. And you can keep sharing with me, like, what would you tell your younger self? You know, what would you tell her or him? You know, would you tell him that crying is normal? It's okay. Failing is normal. It's okay. What would you tell to this young person growing up? And the more we say these things to ourselves, the more we parent ourselves, then we change how we show up in the world today. Then we have more patience and grace with ourselves. Um, and the more patience and grace we have with ourselves, then we allow ourselves to dream, to live our dreams, and to treat ourselves with patience and kindness and empathy. The empathy you would give someone else, then you're able to give that empathy to yourself, especially when you fail or things don't go as planned. So yeah, I mean, for me, I think that those three tips are the tips. But I have more for you guys. I have more for you guys. Things I'd say to my younger self, that 10-year-old person, Uko in class. Maybe then when I view it, I just view myself in my blue dress because we used to wear blue dresses to school and a blue sweater. And honestly, I loved playing in the dark. So so weird. So I'm just seeing myself in the field playing and just doing kiddish stuff. Yeah. So what would I say to that girl? So when we come back, I'm gonna share with you a bit more of those things, and yeah, listen to some cool, relaxing hits on the Afterthought with your host, Ms Dorsila Ogola. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Ms Dorsila Ogola. Welcome to the Afterthought. We're here to get your mental health together. Consider this your mental health weekly check in. And we're talking about things that we would tell our younger selves, words of wisdom that we've accumulated over the years of our presence on this planet, because um yeah, we have lessons. We are seeing the world on a very new, interesting lens, and we are learning lessons. And it's only good and fair when we can go back to those stages of our lives that are very important and where we were getting, to learn about the world afresh. Like it's a very fresh canvas, and we wrote down some things on that canvas that some of them were true, some of them weren't true, and this is where we get a chance to actually come in with our eraser, and just rub the ones that were not true and rewrite them so that we can actually rewrite our futures, and have a better experience on this planet. Because either way, that's really what we need, what we all want, to have a better experience as we navigate life. We may not be able to change some of the situations that we find ourselves in. We may not be able to change where we come from. We may not be able to change so many things about who we are, but one thing that we can do is change how we talk to ourselves. We can change how we experience the earth. We can change how we experience ourselves and other people. And one of the ways that we can do that, thankfully and graciously, we're able to talk about that on the show today. And we had already talked about just knowing that we are worthy and we are good enough, not because we have jobs, not because we have money, not because wherever we come from. No, we're good enough just because, you know, just because we are on this planet, we are good enough. And that's all that matters. The other thing is, if you want something, advocate for yourself, speak for yourself, use your voice. That's why you have it, like you might tremble a bit, you might have wobbly legs a bit, but you know what, use your voice, speak up, speak for yourself, and you know what, just get the things you actually need to get, because you've asked. And also, it's a good way to think about it, like, what's the worst that could happen if I advocated for myself? In those spaces that you advocate for yourself and people don't receive you the same way, people call you cocky, people call you you're talking too much, you're the loud one in the group, you're too much. Those are spaces that really ultimately are not for you. These spaces are meant to create space for you to actually be to actually advocate for yourself and ask for the things you believe you need and want out of your own life. Then we've talked about just fear and the importance of fear, because fear was not important. um but sometimes fear really is the catalyst, it's the thing that steers us forward. Yeah. And that's how we all want or need to be using fear. It's meant to be steering us ahead and forward, and not putting us back into our shells and cowering, and not going for our dreams and going for the things that we want out of life. So those are the things that we were able to just touch on today when it comes to just talking to our 10-year-old selves. The other one that I want to highlight just now is the fact that kindness will never go out of style. I would tell my 10-year-old self, there's no day that kindness will be out of style. Being kind, number one, to yourself is needed. Then being kind to other people around you is just it. It's the flex. It will forever be the flex. Kindness will never be that thing that you will regret having in your life. Being kind. The world is already hard enough. The best we can do is just keep on sprinkling our kindness out there to ourselves. Imagine that sprinkler. Now imagine sprinkling it to yourself, sprinkling that kindness to yourself. How you speak to yourself. Being gracious with yourself. you know Life is hard. The situations we find ourselves in can be very hard and challenging, and they can slow us down a bit mentally. They can slow us down physically. They can really just put us in a space whereby we feel like, what's the point of being kind to myself? You know, what's the point of being kind to other people around me? But how you experience this earth needs a lot of self kindness. Because imagine waking up today and you haven't achieved what you thought you needed to achieve, which happens to, trust, it's not just happening to you, it's happening to everybody around you. So how you speak to yourself in that instance is very important. Because the same way you talk to a girlfriend or a boyfriend who calls in and they want to talk and they're like, you know what, I expected this, I did this, and this didn't go the way I wanted it to go. I messed up really bad, and I'm living in my consequences and whatnot. And then you're able to extend a kind word to them, but you're not able to extend a kind word to yourself. So I would tell my younger self out there playing in the field, getting dirty and hurting my knee, you know what? I would rub my own knee and tell myself it's okay. Yeah, it happens. I would actually rub my knee and tell myself it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It shouldn't stop me from living. I would extend the empathy and the kindness to myself and be like, it's okay. You made a mistake. You learned from it. Now, how do I move forward? How do I, continue journeying ahead, so that we can keep making more mistakes and learning from them, because at the end of the day we cannot avoid mistakes. But one thing we can do, we can learn from them. We can learn from our mistakes, and you know what? It's okay. The other thing would be, I would tell this younger self to define my own life, you know, because as I'm growing up, I'm realizing that there's so many voices. There are voices on social media, how people think you should be living your life. Then there are voices on from your background, from your own family and friends, what they think is a beautiful and fulfilling and an expansive life. They have their idea of what this life should look like. There's that. And then there's a life that exists in your own head, the one that makes you feel alive, the one that you feel, this is what I'm meant to be doing on this planet. So I would tell myself, define this life for yourself. Define how you want it to look like. It doesn't have to look like a traditional life, the way maybe your family members, your parents, or your guardians defined it for you. It doesn't have to look like that. I would tell myself to go deep within, to search myself and go deep within my heart and be like, so what really would make me happy, and how can I do those things without having the pressure out here of becoming what every other person wants me to become and not what I really want to become. And the other day I was actually seated and thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, geez, what's this pressure that I'm feeling that I need to be here, here, here? Like, I need to be everywhere. I need to be doing everything. I want to be this strong, independent woman. Then I want to be this married, woman with 3 kids and cooking in the house. Then I want to be, I want to be this travel blogger thing. I want to travel everywhere, solo trips and whatnot. Then I want to be, I want to be everything all at the same time, because in every room and space probably that I want to enter, I want some form of validation in those rooms. So when I enter into a space whereby there are business women speaking and whatnot, and they're all about, rich auntie vibes and nini, I want that validation from that room. Then when I enter into a room whereby there are, domesticated and women who are just focusing on their families and whatnot, I want to enter into that room and be validated in that room. I want to be validated in the solo traveler lifestyle or whatever. I want to be validated in all these rooms and be everything in all these spaces. But then again, the question would be, Dorsila, who do you actually want to become? What would give you the most satisfaction? What would make you the happiest without falling victim to all these voices that are out here? And the beauty of all of it, I would tell my younger self, and I will still tell myself today, you have options. You always have options. I have options. You always, options are literally just laid out for you, and for me, I call it living an expansive life, whereby it's literally a world of possibilities. Yeah. It's possible for you to actually access that type of life that you actually desire and long for and want to live. The only thing would be you choosing. You choosing how you want to live and how you want to exist in those spaces where, who do you want to become, without feeling any pressure, without wanting to receive validation from the different people around you. I'm sorry if I choose not to become the typical get married by 30, have 7 kids, take care of a family and retire and whatnot. It's fine. The world has space for you if you don't want to become that. I would tell myself, the world has space. It will create space for you and your dreams and how you want to live your life, and just making sure that there's no element of self betrayal so that I can make other people happy. And I feel like this is such an important point because a lot of us today are living life from a place of we want to make every other person happy, we want to make every space get validation from every space. But what if I just want to go and live in Malindi, a very quiet life, and I wake up and I do yoga by the beach, and work on my laptop, and just live a simple, quiet life. No, as long as it brings me joy, that's the thing. As long as it actually does bring me joy, I get to be able to decide. I get to be able to decide how I show up in my friendships and in my relationships, as long as it's honoring the other person and it's honoring me, without the pressure of having to succumb to the pressures of society. I would tell myself that. I would tell myself, that 10-year-old girl, that you know what? It's okay to actually chart your own path, chart your own path and live your life the way you actually feel led to live it. Because at the end of the day, I do believe when you're 70 years old or when you're at that old age whereby you feel like everything that you needed to do has been done, the thing that will give you most joy is knowing that you were truthful to yourself. You lived according to the things that were in your spirit and in your heart, and you're able to actually action them instead of walking through this life pretending and trying to get validation from these spaces, and then deep down you're not happy, you're not in a joyous space. So there's that. Hmm. Okay, the other thing that I would say to this young version of myself is um find time to celebrate your victories as well. Yeah. Because also I'm trying to imagine that growing up there are people who would just take your victories as as nothing. They would downplay your achievements. Maybe it was your parents who downplayed your achievements. They didn't celebrate you enough. They didn't let you know that you're special and beautiful and worthy. Especially to us as Africans, because okay, right now is a bit different. This generation of the kids that are being born right now, Gen Z, is a bit different because birthdays are celebrated and whatnot. But for me, typically sometimes even birthdays were forgotten because we were so many in the house. So there was no that one moment whereby you'd feel like, you know what, out of the 11 people in this household, I am actually really special and celebrated. But do you know what? It's a human need that we actually want to feel special. So when those special days you didn't get the validation, didn't get to be seen on those special days, you kind of grow up thinking that you're not special. You kind of grow up thinking that your achievements are not special. You kind of grow up not celebrating your own achievements. So for me, I would tell that young girl, when people forgot your birthday when you were growing up at 11, you know what, I remember them. I remember your birthday and I will celebrate your birthday because you're special and you are important. We live in a society whereby it's very hard for some people to actually tell other people, you're special, you're needed, you're loved, we see you. I would tell the younger version of myself that I see you. I see exactly who you are. I see your beauty, I see your talents, I see your gifts, I see your victories, I see the things you had to overcome. I see you even when nobody else sees you. We would tell that 10-year version of ourselves, and that being seen will allow us to actually celebrate the victories that we had, because at the end of the day, when you failed, people took notes in some way, either through sitting you down and letting you know that you done messed up. Yeah. So they actually made it a thing. But the time that it was meant for you to be celebrated, then it was all quiet. There were just, everyone was quiet. No one talked about it. No one recognized it. No one made it a point for you to actually stop and be like, do you know how special you are? Do you know how amazing you are for actually achieving this thing? Do you know not every day this thing is done? Yeah. So I would actually urge us to celebrate our victories, even the small ones, even the things that are considered so tiny and so small. Celebrate them. Remind yourself that you are special, that you get things done. You done did it. That was you. Celebrate yourself. This can look like buying that cake for yourself and blowing that candle. I mean, like, it's me. I'm the badass. It's me. I did that. So remember to celebrate yourself, and because that's something we all crave to be seen in whatever spheres, in our friendships, in our relationships, in the offices we walk into, in the spaces that we show up in. We all crave, we have a craving actually to be seen and to be celebrated, and to be to actually for other people to let us know that our presence, our contribution is actually important. So what if you did that for yourself? I mean, what imagine if you gave that to you gave it to yourself, letting yourself know that you are special and you are needed, and speaking like that in honor and celebration for yourself and for your victories in life. Yeah, that's one thing I would tell my younger self. you know the other thing I would actually tell my younger self, before you get into that music, would be, this life is not, it is not a sprint. It's a marathon. This life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. um and the minute you understand that, then you're gracious with yourself. That empathy I was speaking about, you're able to give yourself that empathy, because you realize, you know what, this life is not a marathon. Hey, so you're able to actually, because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So because it's a marathon, you're able to pull a seat and have a seat, because you're like, whew, I'm tired, honey, I need some water. If it's a sprint, there's no time to sit, there's no time to drink water, there's no time. But because it's a marathon, there's time to drink some water, there's time to actually take a break, there's time to actually reconnect with yourself and be like, whew, that was a lot. And then going back into it and being like, you know what, now I can show up. Because it's a marathon, I can go back, drink my energizer, whatever that energizer needs to be. I can go back now, I can get back on my journey of just, it's a marathon. And the fact that it's a marathon, it kind of reminds us that we will achieve different things at different seasons of our lives. Nothing just goes up, 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 up. It's literally an up and down type of up and down. And sometimes the highs can be really high, the lows can be really low. And when we understand that, then we can be gracious with ourselves and be able to actually take care of ourselves when the lows are really low, and we're actually able to really cherish when the highs are really high. So I would tell myself, you know what, the days that you're feeling low, those are normal. I would tell babes, those are normal. I'd hold myself, I'd hold the younger version of myself and tell her that those experiences are actually very, very normal. And sooner rather than later, we're gonna go back to the highs. And then when I'm at those highs, I would also remind myself that just because probably a low is somewhere, it doesn't mean I cannot enjoy the highs. Because I feel like sometimes, even for ourselves, when we are in a season whereby we are achieving and we are, breaking barriers, we are doing a lot, we are winning. This season, when we are winning, instead of focusing on enjoying that season, we are living in fear of probably a low season. We're like, whew, it's only this good because something bad is about to happen. But once you actually, I feel like a lot of us really struggle because we do not have the acceptance that life is not just a straight line. When we accept that it's literally like that, up and down, zigzag, sometimes the up is really, it lasts for long, then, the other one doesn't last at all, then it becomes a bit hard for us. But when we live in acceptance, then when we are able to cherish every present moment that we are in. So even for my anxious babes out there, like, sometimes when you're sleeping at night and everything during the entire day has gone really well, you're thinking, what is about to go wrong? So you're looking for something wrong in your body, you're looking for something wrong in your space, you're looking for something wrong that could be happening, So cherish the present moments, because those present moments are really just what you have. Yeah. That present moment, the now, that's really what you have. So if you're able to cherish that, then you're able to win at this game of life. Okay, we're really reparenting ourselves. It feels a bit weird, yeah, but it feels really good. For me, it feels like a really warm hug. Yeah, hugging that small girl in school, yeah. Just telling her it gets better, telling her you are seen, you are enough, you're beautiful. Your voice matters, use it, I'm telling her, do it scared. Do it scared. Let not fear stop you from doing it. Do it scared, yeah. Um it feels a bit weird and awkward, but it's actually very necessary and very needed, because the only person who can reparent us is just ourselves. So this work is actually very, very needed and important. So we're gonna go on a music break, and when we come back, I'll share with you the last of it, the last of the things that I would tell my younger self. So enjoy this music. Make sure you follow us on Icon Radio KE. Make sure you follow me, Ms Dorsila underscore Ogola, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and yeah, enjoy some music. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the music. Of course, of course, of course. We were not gonna finish this show without listening to some "You Won't Break My Soul," honey. Yeah. So I hope you're enjoying the show so far, and we're just talking about reparenting, yeah, because it's important. It's important. It's important, and we're learning a lot, especially in this day and age, about just how to be a human on this planet and human psychology and how to be better. So at this point in our lives, we really have no excuse other than just to do the work. Yeah, a lot of the research that we have today was not there 5, 10, 20 years ago. So of course we're going to leverage on the research. We're going to do better so that we can be better friends, better relationship partners, better parents, and also just ensuring that we're not passing down a lot of our childhood trauma to the people that we're going to live on this planet. You know, that's our kids and all of that. So it is our responsibility to do the work. So we're doing the work. And it's it has like its ups and downs. It has all the emotions that yeah, that are a bit uncomfortable, but you know what, that's why we have this show over here, so that we can talk about it and just destigmatize it and be better. So we're talking about some of the things we would tell our younger selves. So we've talked about choosing ourselves, we've talked about knowing that we're special, and knowing that our highlights and the things we achieve deserve to be celebrated. We've talked about kindness never going out of style. Yeah, kindness will always be that thing that, like you want to turn me on, be kind, stay kind. Um, it's just never gonna go out of style, no matter how the world seems broken and it seems like no one is kind out there. There are actually kind people, and if you vibrate in that energy of kindness and love, then of course the people you're gonna attract are gonna be kind and loving. And even if you still don't attract the kind and loving people, let it not affect your kindness. The problem could never be you for being kind. Like you could never be too kind. Like I do believe so. It would never be your problem that you're kind. And of course, I'm gonna highlight and say, it doesn't mean that you lack boundaries when you're kind. It just means you have boundaries and you'll still be kind. And that's it. So let's spread kindness. Let's spread a bit more of that kindness. So just to wrap up today's show, I want to touch on three more things I would tell my younger self. This 10-year-old babe, just running around without a care in the world. The only things I would care. What did I care about when I was 10 years old? I cared about my friends. Yeah. I cared about being cool. Yeah. I was always like in close proximity to the cool kids. But it's fine. Yeah, I cared about being cool. I cared about my schoolwork, of course. I cared about what number I was becoming. Was I number 3, number 4? Was I number 7? The best I ever got to was number 9. Yeah. And then after number 9, I never got to number 8. Like it was just, I think I realized sooner that that probably being number 1 to 10 was really just not gonna be my thing. Yeah, but yeah, I think that was the best I probably did then. Yeah, so that small kid, growing up, what did I care about? Yeah. So what would I say to her? Or what would you say to him? I would say to them, it's okay to feel, it's okay to be sensitive and soft. Yeah. It's okay to feel your emotions. It's okay to be sensitive and soft. For me, especially because I grew up in a family whereby we were 11 of us or more. And of course, in this family, there are different types of personalities. We have the quiet one, we have the loud one, we have the gangster one, we have the one who will finesse you at everything, we had the smart one, we had the one who was not considered as smart, we had the musically talented one, and of course you were like, okay, so what if you're just you? Maybe whatever you're good at is not exposed at that time, which can be maybe you're into tech, and at that time when you're growing up, there was not much tech to explore. So you probably didn't have that thing that you were really good at. Yeah. So how do you navigate at that point, how do you find your own voice and your own space and express that, um and just allow yourself to be, you know and with all these things and all these different personalities that were there, yeah, you'd find that you're being told, be more like this other person, be more like Nani doesn't cry over such things, yeah, be more like Nani cries over such things, like these things that you are being told to be more of, like, and then negating who you are really at the soul level. For me, for example, I was told I'm soft and I'm sensitive and I'm what, and indeed, right now, I'm like, yes, I am sensitive, I am soft, and it is what it is. Deal with it. I'm gonna cry about stuff that probably not so many people cry about. I'm gonna care about stuff and feel it deep within me, that probably my sister would not feel the same way about, or it would not affect her deeply like that. But for me to get to a point whereby to tell that girl, growing up, that it's okay to feel, it's okay to care to that level, it's okay to just be yourself, you know, and that needs to be validated. And the same way I would tell the other kid that was tough and whatnot, and they were being told you're too tough, you need to da 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 da, and maybe it's who they are. You need to validate that it's okay for you to just be, you. It's okay for you to just be you. But the other thing would be, it's really just fine and okay to just feel, and to just be yourself and to feel the difficult emotions, and one of the things that, and even for example, when you fell and the baby cried, and you're not being validated because it was painful. Like, for example, if you cut yourself and you are cutting probably vegetables in the kitchen and you're learning how to cook and you've snipped yourself and you start crying, and then you're told, what are you crying about? Yeah, you're the one who snipped yourself, so suck it up. No, I mean, it's okay to feel the pain, even if you're the one who caused the pain on yourself. So it's still fine. So validate that. And I would validate that small young child growing up, that it's fine, even if you're the one who caused the pain to yourself, that it's fine. You can actually feel what you need to feel and allow healing to take place. And cry. A lot of people also would talk down on crying and be like, oh, why are you crying so much? Oh, this baby cries too much. Oh, nini nini. And this is a class 4-year old, a 5-year old. It's okay to feel your emotions, to cry and to let them out, because even in that crying there's healing. So for us, not being allowed or being in a space whereby feeling your emotions was allowed, it did not let us access the healing that we needed to heal from. It just taught us to be tough, and it taught us to be the strong black men or strong black women that don't feel nothing. And then we are here, we are 34, we are trying to date and be in relationships, and you're being asked to feel things, and you're like, we don't know how to feel these things because we were told it was not safe to feel them. But I'm here to tell that young person, 10-year-old, that it's okay to feel. Feel what you need to feel. Let healing access you through feeling. You can't heal if you don't feel your emotions. I said what I said. You cannot heal if you don't feel your emotions. So allow yourself to heal and to feel. There's no weakness in feeling. Feel what you need to feel. It is what it is. And the scars you can't see are worse than those you can. I'll say that again. The scars you can't see are worse than those that you can see. The scar you're seeing on your leg when you fell when you're in class 7, that's an okay scar. That scar is fine. Let it be. But the scar that happened to you when you're in class 7, when they booed you, when they told you that you're not good looking enough, when they told you that your family is not good enough, that scar that you carried up until you're 38, that one, that's the one you need to be worried about. That's the one you need to be focusing on and being like, that needs to be healed. That area needs to be healed. I will never forget this story. Let me share with you a story, that's something that happened to me when I was in pre-unit. So there was this girl, she stole my gumboots. So what happened was, every time it rained, we would come to school with gumboots, and we would carry an extra pair. We would carry our normal shoes and we would wear our gumboots. So when we'd get into the class, we'd wear our normal shoes and we'd leave our gumboots outside. So you can imagine all your gumboots like are laid out uko nje. Gumboots ni gumboots, most of them zinafanana. But I knew my gumboots, So this girl went and took my gumboots. And she was like, these are my gumboots. They're mine. So I got pissed and I felt like there could never be justice from the teacher. So what did I do? Me at pre-unit, I went and called my class 7 brother. And I was like, this girl here, Wamboi. She was called Wamboi. I will never forget. You wonder why this story is still like in my mind the way fresh. Fresh. So and I went to my brother, tell my brother, one boy stole my gumboots, and one boy doesn't want to give me back my gumboots. You deal with this demon. Because what is this? Yeah? So my brother finds a way to bully one boy into giving me back my gumboots. Kidogo kidogo. At 4 p.m. when people are going home, I hear my name being called by the teacher to go to the front. Yeah. So I go to the front. Of course, one boy went and cried, said I called my big brother, lily lily. So even for me, okay, I was there for terrorizing one boy, guilty. But still, justice needed to be served. I needed to go home with my gumboots. So I'm called to the front. Kidogo kidogo, I'm being sung for a song. Shame, shame, shame on you. Nini, nini, nini will happen to me and more shame on me. And I was like, huh? I couldn't even process all of that, but I remember that. So in my mind, I was like, I'm being shamed for using my voice, for standing up for myself and being like, those are not those are my gumboots. So I remember that I was being shamed into that, and that memory still lingers with me, you know. And for me, I was just like, it lingers with me because it traumatized me at that time. You can imagine calling a pre-unit child and singing a shame on you song and thinking that it will not have an impact in their lives. I mean, so the point is, some of these things that scar us when we're growing up, as kids, we tend to carry a lot of those emotions and those experiences into our future. And I still have another experience at class 3. Let me shock you. The same thing. My twin sister was chewing. I was not chewing, but because we are twins, the teacher assumed we are both chewing. So I went to the front. I was like, show me the chewing gum, teacher. I don't have a chewing gum. So because I put my hands like this, I was guilty and I was beaten for defending myself. So those are things that experiences that we carry, and they kind of like just fashion how we see the world and how we see the future. But I can say the scars that you do not heal, the scars that those ones we can't see, we need to heal them, and it's our responsibility. We need to release our parents from the pain probably that they probably could have caused us, and understand that they're human beings and they did the best that they could with what they had. Release them in forgiveness, whatever time it takes to just forgive and release, and then take that responsibility to heal ourselves, you know. So reparent yourself. Speak more gentler and kinder words to that 10-year-old person, um, and use the wisdom that you've gained all through the years to reparent and just change the narrative. I loved today's show because I found it very therapeutic. I hope you did too. And I cannot wait to be back here next week, Tuesday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on the Afterthought, where we'll be able to just dive deeper in such like topics with my Kola. Keep it Icon Radio every day, forever, and especially on Tuesdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., where we bring you more of these conversations. Bye bye. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. And remember, you deserve all the beautiful things. That 10-year-old deserves it. You, wherever you're seated right now listening to this, you deserve all the beautiful things. Remember to choose yourself. Bye.